Well, I don't know what he's up to. He's picking me like chicken, shucking me like corn, stewing me like an oyster.
Can I ask you something?
Honey, come on. The man's trying to get some rest.
No, that's okay. Go ahead, ask away.
I just got to know the Kennedy assassination. Did Oswald act alone?
Hey, that's for me to know, and Oliver's...
I like your hair in the middle with the silver hair. How old are you? 75. Get the fuck out of here. Who killed JFK? I'm not going to read all those pages. Who do you think killed him? You think the government killed him? Ooh. Move it.
Now, the disruptor-in-chief, Elon Musk, who apparently has adopted the alias, at least he changed his social media handle to Harry Balls, tweeted this morning, "Democracy in America is being destroyed."
Yo, it's your boy, the Tesla King, Elon Musk. The boys always make my rocket shoot straight up, no homo. You bout to listen to the #1 JFK-related podcast on planet Mars. Now plug in your neural link for two numbnuts who aren't a waste of government spending, the BBB and JOEB.
Here's the BBB&JOEB, and the BBB, baby, BBB&JOEB, rock, cock, and Joe rally. BBB&JOEB, and the BBB, baby, BBB&JOEB, rock, cock, and Joe rally. We're coming in, only seeking the truth about JFK. It's a long-coming podcast crew. Tell 'em, Joe, here we go.
And here we go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome in on this lovely, rainy here Friday evening. It is episode number 340 of the Lone Gunman Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Rob Clark, otherwise known as Big Bad Bob, otherwise known as the Triple B. And, of course, alongside is Joe B, Mr. Joe Borelli. What's up, Joe?
Hey, happy Friday to you, Rob.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think that rainstorm is moving north because it's supposed to rain here tomorrow.
I just heard it pecking on the window a little bit. Raindrops. They must have just started, so.
Hopefully we don't get another tree coming down on the side of your house.
Yes, hopefully not. And knock out my internet. God damn. But anyway, tonight we got a special treat for you. One of my favorite guests that I've had on the show, and one of your favorite guests as well. Everybody who hears him loves him. Gil Jesus is joining us tonight. Gil, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome in, Gil. How you doing, buddy?
Not bad.
Good. Welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know. I think this is your first time actually doing it live on the YouTube. We used to do it, we do it live on video. I talk to you, but people only heard us then. So now everybody can see us. And part of the cool thing here is as we're doing this live, dude, we got 50 or 60 people that love to hang out in the chat section and do their own thing or contribute to the show. So that's very cool. I mean, you're already getting some love here, Gil. So let's welcome in some of our folks here. We got Alpha 66, who will be in a little later. Colleen emailed me. She is not going to be in the chat tonight, but she will be listening. She's having some sump pump trouble, which I told her, I said, there's a joke in there somewhere.
There definitely is.
Yeah. Paul's in the house. What's up, Paul? James. He says, Gil Jesus Angleton. No. No. Don't compare Gil to James Jesus Angleton. Don't do that. Gil is solid. From Paul. Tiny Dancer's in the house. Sally. is up in the house from across the pond. Big fan of Gil, she says. Always fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's see, Mr. JSV. Jesus, the crown, yes. And John, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Thank you, John. And like I was saying to you a couple of minutes before we came on, Gil, been a big fan of your work. I was just a listener in the years before. Rob and I have been doing this a year and a half now, every Friday night live. And I have to warn you, like Rob said, our audience is really smart and they keep us on our toes. So they always, if we get something wrong, they correct us. It's
Yeah, but that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I figured, it's been a couple of years since we've had Joe in here, and I know you're always into something. So I figured I'd reach out to you and say, hey, what you got going on? I know you said you've been looking into a little bit into the guns of Oswald. And, did he really order them? When did he actually get them? What the hell's going on here? And, a lot of people looked into this thing over the years, and there are questions. Of course, there are questions. So let's get into it, Gil. What did you find out when you started looking into Oswald's procurement of his weaponry?
Well, the first thing that hits me right off the bat is that he used two different MOs, if you will, modus operandi. He used two different methods to order these weapons. One, he sent cash, allegedly sent cash through the mail for the handgun, and the other one he sent a money order for the rifle. Supposedly, the question is why didn't he send the money order for the handgun while he was at the post office?
Right.
So this is one thing that hits me. There's two different methods of payment here. Another thing that hit me strange was that these two weapons were allegedly ordered on the same day, on the 12th of March, and they both took 7 days, 8 days to process. They both were shipped on the same day. And to me, even though they're two different weapons using two different methods of payment, going to two different areas of the country, and all of these dates line up, they're all the same. And to me, that sounds a little strange. So
where was Seaport Traders coming from? Was that California?
California, yeah, LA, yeah. And
lines was Chicago.
Right.
Okay.
So I started taking a look at the order blanks and reading some of the testimony from when he was in New Orleans. And Adrian Alba, I don't know if you remember, Adrian Alba had testified that Oswald had been asked him how to order through the mail, okay? And he was practicing ordering through the mail. Alba said that there were magazines that Oswald removed from his garage. And I believe, this is only my opinion, I can't prove it. I believe that the two order blanks for the alleged murder weapons came from magazines in Adrian Alba's garage. I believe that Oswald filled them out, but I don't believe he ever mailed them. I believe that these were retrieved from Alba's garage after the assassination. And from the documents I've seen, I'll tell you some of the documents because this is what I believe. Now,
does the handwriting match up? Have you checked it? The handwriting with Oswald on these orders.
Well, not me personally. I'm going by what they said. They said Oswald filled it out. I'll give him that. Okay, Oswald filled it out, but he never mailed it because when the money order was purchased on the 12th at 10 o'clock in the morning on March 12th, he was at work. All of his worksheets prove that he was at work, and every minute of the day on that date, he was at work. So he didn't buy that money order. He never purchased that money order. That money order was never processed through the Federal Reserve. It was only stamped for deposit with Klein's stamp on the back of it. That was it. But it never went through the payment process. See, when it goes through the payment process, every bank has to stamp it so they know who gets paid, right? Before it gets to the Federal Reserve. Well, that didn't happen. The bank never stamped it. So the bank never paid on it. The money order is a fake. That's what it means. And
he was working at Jagger's Child Stovall at this time.
Right. He was working there. Now, the Warren Commission supporters say, well, the timesheets, they really weren't, he testified that the timesheets weren't really accurate, right? But he also, this Robert Stovall, he also, if you remember, testified that Oswald was not involved in any top secret work for his company. Oswald never got near any of the top secret work. But if you look at Oswald's worksheets, they say Army Map Service. His company was doing secret work for the Army Map Service during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They were marking maps that the U-2s were taking from the sky, and they were marking them to what was what on that map. And Oswald's worksheets say Army Map Service on them and AMS, which is an abbreviation for it. He was working on top secret. How the hell does a defector to the Soviet Union get access to top secret material, right?
Or a Marine with an undesirable or dishonorable discharge.
Right. So, and that's another thing. I mean, I could go into that and say, how does a guy make his Marxist views normal, overtly expose his Marxist views in the Marine Corps in the 1950s? Come on, that's not real. And they accept it. They don't throw him out of the Marine Corps. Come on, something else is going on there, right? But anyways, okay, I'm getting off the subject. So anyways, he goes to Jagger's Childs, and
and ironically, Gil, that was probably his most consistent and probably longest running job he had since he came back in June '62. I don't know how exactly long he worked there, but if you look at his work history after, it's a mess,
Right. And I only bring up Oswald working on the Army Map Service because I want to show you that Robert Stovall is not a credible witness. Okay, he's lying under oath. He's committing perjury because his company has a government contract that they don't want to lose. They don't want the government. He's not going to testify. Yeah, we let him. We screwed up. They don't want to do that because they're going to lose the government contract. That's a lot of money. So he lies and says, no, he never had access to that stuff. So as far as whatever he says about the timesheets, he's not a credible witness in my view. Okay, so and to work there, he had to have some kind of a clearance. They had to know that he was okay. Otherwise, he never would have had that access. So anyways, I'm looking at the, let me get back on the subject of the order blank. I'm looking at the order blank for the handgun now. And the order blank for the handgun has all kinds of mistakes on it. Let me see if I can find, he's got a couple of places where he's crossed out. The one was for ammo for the 38. The other one was for a holster. He crossed it out. He had written it in by hand and crossed it out. One was $1.95, and I think the other one was $1.25. And so this tells me that this order blank is not real. He's practicing. He's practicing ordering something. He has no clue what he's doing because it says right on the order blank, COD require 1/2 deposit. And he marks on top of it $10. Enclosed $10 check or $29.95 money order. Now, he didn't send any money order. So he has no idea what he's doing. He's marking, it's saying money order, a check or money order. It doesn't.
And he sent cash?
Yeah, well, yeah, he sent $10. Supposedly, he sent $10 cash. But on the order blank,
right?
On your, but on the other one, he sent the money order. I don't understand why he would send cash. But anyways,
so on the same day, he
on
paid
the same
for
day,
the
on the same day when he's at work. Yeah,
and the handgun in 2 different forms of payment.
Exactly.
Which makes it doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. So this is all red flags to me, Joe. So it says $10. It says here enclosed and it's blank. He marked $10 check or another blank. He puts down $29.95 money order. Then it says after in parentheses, CODs require 1/2 deposit. Now, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's filling this thing out and he doesn't have a clue what he's doing. Everything on this order blank is wrong. It puts down A.J. Hiddell, age 28. He wasn't 28. Date 1/27, and it's hard to read the year. It might say 63. I'm not sure. But it says 1/27. Witness D.F. Driddle. Everything on here is is not real. And I'm saying to myself, this is him practicing. He's not sending this out. He's practicing. And so all of this stuff doesn't make any sense to me. Here's an interesting thing, because after the day after the assassination, and this is another thing I found out. This is what makes me think he was practicing. They went and got the magazines after the assassination. After the assassination, the day after, the Saturday, in Adrian Alba's garage, his assistant manager, and I can't think of his name right now, but assistant manager was working that day. This guy who he never seen before, never seen him around the neighborhood, didn't know who he was. He comes walking into the garage, and he wants to borrow a couple of Adrian Alba's gun magazines. Okay, so he tells the guy, "Go ahead." So he said he was only there for a few minutes, and he left. He said he didn't know, because he went back to his desk, and from his vantage point, he couldn't tell if the guy took any magazines or not. I think he did. I think he took 2 magazines. I think he took the February 1963 American Rifleman that had the coupon for the rifle, and the other one was.
I found the coupon. I threw it up here for.
Really. That's the coupon. That's it. It's also listed under Commission Exhibit 790.
Yeah. Rob, let me see if this works. Is this what you're referring to, Gil?
No. The one Rob put up is the one I was referring to, because that's for the handgun.
Yeah, this was portrayed.
You can see where it says enclosed $10 check or $29.95 money order, and underneath it says CODs require 50% deposit or half deposit. And all of this information on this thing is wrong. This tells me the guy was practicing. He had no intention of sending this. He used his old post office box. He used the wrong age. He was just practicing. That's all he was doing.
Who's the witness supposed to be? John Duddle?
No. That was just a fake name that he had made up.
Oh.
D.F. Driddle.
D.F. Driddle.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
There might be a joke in there too.
I don't know. But so this guy shows up on a Saturday, and he takes some he doesn't know if he took some magazines or not. He said he didn't know the guy. He'd never seen him before. So they asked Adrian Alba, who on your friends would do this? He has no idea. He has no idea. Why would you walk into a parking garage and ask to borrow used magazines, gun magazines?
Right. Well, that's actually my question, Gil. That's actually my question. Because are you insinuating that Oswald had filled out some of the order forms in those magazines and they went to get it? Because why? To your point, why couldn't they just get any random gun magazine unless they knew he had filled them out, or they just? Thank you. Yeah, you're right, Joe, because I believe that, again, can't prove it because they never recorded the interrogation sessions, but I think he turned around and told them, I never owned a gun. I filled out some applications back in New Orleans, but I never mailed them. And they say, well, what magazines were those from? And if he told them which magazines they were from, all they had to do was send somebody over there, pick up those magazines. Like the guy said, he was only in here for a few minutes. If he knew what magazines to look for, it ain't going to take long to find them. And if they're still there, the guy had like 80 to 120 magazines. So he kept them. It wasn't like he threw them away. Do we know what time they came on the 23rd?
I believe it was before 9 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
I think so. I think it was early in the morning. I believe the document I have, I believe it was early in the morning.
Was it DeBreeze?
What's that?
Was it DeBreeze? Warren DeBreeze?
No.
I think DeBreeze was at some point sent to Dallas from New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he took the magazines on the way.
DeBreeze was the guy that was running Oswald in New Orleans.
Right.
Oswald had turned on the CIA. Oswald was a CIA source originally. And what he did was when he turned on them to the FBI, remember when the Kennedys were shutting down all the training camps in the summer of 1963? Oswald was the source for the July 31st, 1963 raid on the camp at Lake Pontchartrain. When that happened, Right after that happened is when Oswald starts getting this public persona of being a Castro sympathizer. This is when they set him up, when they find out that he's the rat. He's the one that turned them in. So now that they turn around and they go back on him, they turn on him. And that's how they set Oswald up. These training camps were training the Cubans under the cover of a second invasion of Cuba. This is all what I believe from what I've read. They were training these Cubans for a second invasion of Cuba. Kennedy's had no intention of invading Cuba a second time. It wasn't going to happen. It was the CIA that was going to do it. They were doing this under the cover. But what they were really doing was they were training teams of assassins to go around the country to kill the president. That's what this was all about. That's what I believe was all about. Okay. And when they shut that camp down, they were pissed. They were really mad. And so they set Oswald up. They already knew what the final act was going to be. They set Oswald up, and that's how he got to be chosen as the patsy, because he had turned on the CIA back in New Orleans. But anyways, I think this is what happened. They sent somebody. It could have been anybody. It could have been. It doesn't necessarily mean the guy that came into the garage was involved in a conspiracy. They could have sent anybody. They could have sent just any Cuban exile there. He said he was an old friend of Alba's, but Alba said he didn't know who he was. And you know that the Bruys was running Oswald because the bar guy said, the guy that owned the bar. What the hell was his name? This is what happens when you get old. You forget all this. What's that?
Was it Horace Pena?
Yeah, Horace Pena said that he saw them together in his bar. He saw them together. The guy that the guy that wrote the book there, the author, saw them in Mancuso's restaurant together. I mean, they were seen all over town together. So he was running Oswald, and he was running Oswald, I believe, as part of this Kennedy plan to shut down the training camps. And that's why Oswald went in, because that was a DRE training camp. Oswald went in and Carlos Bringuier's clothing store and offered to train Cubans. He wanted to find out where this freaking camp was. And that's when the next few days they set him up down on Canal Street, passing out pro-Castro leaflets.
Because that's what he originally questioned Ernesto Rodriguez first, and that's who sent him to Brigne, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so all of it didn't necessarily have to be somebody who knew that the president was going to get killed or whatever, or involved in a conspiracy to set up Oswald. They could have sent anybody in there and just told them, look for these two magazines. Okay. Look for these two dated magazines. And those are the ones we want. Bring them out. Boom. Now they get the magazine. So what do? They cut the thing out. They make up the fake money order. And it doesn't make, none of it adds up. You know, when they wanted to find out about the handgun, why didn't they go to REA Express, who was supposed to have been shipped it? Why did they go to the shipper and get copies of the shipping records from the shipper? Why didn't they go to the shipping company?
Yeah, a question about the money order. So did Oswald allegedly go to like a bank or a post office and give cash to then like a teller and then get the money order? Or is there any connection with, like, say, his finance?
Well, the thing is, Joe, they never explained it. They never identified anybody in the post office who sold them the money order. They never identified anybody in the post office who handed them the rifle when it came in. They never identified anybody at REA Express that handed them the handgun. So, I mean,
well, all these goons that worked at the post office, they're all FBI informants too.
Yeah, like
Harry Holmes. I don't know who the New Orleans guy was, but I'm sure he was an FBI informant as well.
Yeah. Harry Holmes was a snake.
Mm-hmm, yeah, for sure. So I just have a quick question. So when he ordered them on the 12th of March, right? Did they get delivered to Dallas or did they get delivered to New Orleans?
He never ordered them on March 12th.
Okay, but
he never ordered.
Allegedly, where did the guns get shipped to?
Well, see, the handgun couldn't be shipped through the Postal Service because the Postal Service had rules that you couldn't, unless you're a gun dealer or like a law enforcement officer or somebody in law enforcement career, you couldn't receive by the post office a gun. So it had to be shipped by a private company. So before there was UPS, there was REA Express. So REA Express shipped a handgun, supposedly, and the rifle came from through the post office. So the rifle went to the Dallas post office, but the handgun went to the Dallas REA Express office.
Okay. Because, of course, we know Oswald, what was it, April, May, goes to New Orleans shortly after the Walker shooting. He takes those guns allegedly with him. And what guns do you think he had in New Orleans personally, if any? I'm not saying they were these guns, but
I don't think he had any.
Yeah, because Marina never mentions the handgun.
Yeah.
Ever.
She never saw the handgun.
Right.
And Ruth Payne never saw the rifle in New Orleans.
Right. Well, that's a big question, right? Is how did this rifle that was allegedly in New Orleans, right, that Marina saw him practicing with, right, on the porch, right, cocking it, how did it get back to New Orleans if Ruth Payne denied it and Lee allegedly went there to Mexico? You could say, okay, he brought the handgun, allegedly, pulled it on the table in the Soviet embassy, in front of all these KGB people saying, whatever. You could assume that. Just let's assume that. But there's no plausible explanation, as do I know, of how it got from New Orleans back to Dallas. So we go Dallas to New Orleans, back to Dallas, this rifle, allegedly, right?
Right. And Ruth Payne never saw it. Her husband unloaded the car when he got back to Dallas. He never saw it. Okay. And the landlady and the landlord of the apartment that they rented in New Orleans saw them unloading and loading the car. They never saw it. They never saw anything that looked like a rifle.
Yeah, supposedly it was wrapped in the blanket, allegedly.
Yeah, but nobody even saw the saw the blanket.
Well, the only person that did say he saw it was George Morrinshield, of course, but that was in Dallas before the Walker shooting, or just around that time. He's the only person, to my knowledge, that said, I saw the rifle in Oswald's closet.
Yeah, and that was after the Walker shooting.
Okay.
But it could very well have been George de Morenshield's rifle. Who knows?
Or a different rifle.
Or a different rifle. Right, Rob. It could have been the rifle that they used to take the backyard photographs. It could have been just a prop.
Yeah.
He could have borrowed it from somebody just to take those pictures.
When I was looking for the pictures for today, I came across a different pistol that Lee Oswald had that he sold to his brother Robert for $10. And it was a nice looking pistol. It was nice silver, good looking pistol. And he had engraved it with like these little dots with his name on it, and then sold it to his brother. And Robert said, Lee should have never had a gun. And it actually, the reason I saw it was up for auction. Somebody bought that thing for $31,000.
Wow.
Yeah. But this piece of crap that I always said, this looks like a freaking throwdown pistol. I mean, this is a piece of shit for 30
Yeah, it is.
back then.
You want to hear some interesting things about this handgun?
That's horrible.
You're not going to believe it.
Huh.
When the Dallas police were searching in the, I don't know if it's I think maybe it was the FBI. They were searching the Dallas gun shops to find out who sold this handgun. Okay. And one of the gun shops they came across, the guy that worked at the gun shop said to them, if this handgun had been rechambered in England, because it came from England, it was part of a shipment that came from England. It was even stamped on it, England. I think it was part of a shipment during the Second World War. The United States lent weapons to the British, and part of the Lend-Lease Act. And I think they came back from England. And he said, if this gun had been rechambered for 38 Special in England, it would have been done by this company called Cogswell and Harrison in London. Now, the interesting thing about Cogswell and Harrison was that it was a subsidiary of Interamco. the International Armaments Corporation. And I see you smile. You know who Interamco is. It's a subsidiary of the CIA.
Yeah,
okay?
Gil, last week on the show, we did a little segment on the Gary Underhill doc. That has been making the rounds.
Yep.
And all the mainstream media, and everyone's like, look at this. This is brand new. And of course, it's been around. There was some things that were redacted.
What was his name? Cummings? Was it
Samuel Cummings?
Samuel Cummings, yeah.
The only part, or the most, the part of the document that was released that is finally not redacted had to do with Interamco and the CIA keeping the profits relating to this. It was all about Interamco. And we talked about how they had connections to Klein's as well. So it's funny though that was the part that was redacted in that whole document that everyone's making a big fuss over.
Klein's was a customer of Interamco, and when they were talking about what the FBI was doing their report on which businesses, which arms company, mail order houses were dealing with this type of rifle, the 6.5 millimeter Mannlicher Carcano. They go through all the companies that are selling this, and on the bottom, and the very last sentence on it says Interamco does not handle this type of rifle, out of the clear blue. I mean, why do you put that on there? You're telling us all the ones that all we want to know is who does handle it. But they went out of their way, out of the clear blue, to say Interamco doesn't handle this type of rifle. And I thought that was funny when I read it. And but here it is, the handgun possibly passing through a subsidiary of the CIA, which is the CIA, which Interamco was started in 1954 when the CIA wanted to overthrow Arbenz in Guatemala. They gave Sam Cummings $100,000 to start this business because by law they couldn't buy weapons. CIA wasn't allowed to buy weapons. So what they were doing was the military, certain people in the military were allowing these weapons in the military to disappear, and they were getting them through their arms dealers. So they could get plenty of weapons in a hurry.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to bring it up really quickly just because I mentioned it. But on the left-hand side, Gil is the previously redacted Underhill doc, and on the right is the one that was just released in the new releases, and it says that Interamco Corp, and this is part that was redacted, an agency audit established the net worth of these companies, that the CIA made a sizable profit on these transactions. And it's all about Cummings, knows only his alias. It's really interesting, and we covered it last week. So.
Yeah, and what people don't realize is that the CIA had their hands in a lot of stuff. They had their hands in colleges and universities. They had their hands in all kinds of businesses that seemed legitimate businesses. The CIA had their hands in everything. They had their hands in the media. They were all over the place. And this was a monster that Kennedy and his brother were just. There was no way that they were going to defeat these guys. Yeah. And so, anyways, getting back to the weapons.
Well, can I stop you for 1 second? Yeah. I start a couple comments from the chat, and I think Rob put one or two of them up, but I just wanted to show them to you and get your thoughts. Paul Cummings said October or November, he's talking about 1962, is when George DeMorenfield allegedly saw the rifle. So I guess it was way before the Walker thing. And Sally asked, why take the rifle to New Orleans if you plan to go back to Dallas or to Mexico? So I'll say, I don't know what Oswald was planning at that point, where he was going to go or come back to. But
good question.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Marina Oswald couldn't identify that rifle. Right. She thought at first it was the gun that he had in Russia.
Right. Yeah, and that's of course the famous. She couldn't tell if it was a shotgun or a rifle or whatever. And Mr. JSV asked, "Amazing Ruth didn't find the rifle, with all the other things she magically found."
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because there's a woman who goes around shaking books upside down to get notes out of books, and she doesn't see the rifle. Come on.
Right. So, all right, sorry, and you can get back to that now.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say that when it comes to Inter-Armco, that Klein's was a customer of theirs. So it wouldn't have been hard for the CIA to have, let's say, blank order forms from Klein's or something like that. It's not different for these companies to have blank order forms from different companies that they do business from, and they just fill them out. Inter-Armco, I believe, was busted. I think it was some island in the Caribbean in 1967, and for illegal arms shipment. And I read this somewhere, and I've got the documents someplace on my computer. And they were busted, and during the investigation, it was found out that the shipping records had been falsified. Can you imagine Inter-Armco falsifying shipping records for weapons? Come on, of course. That's what I say. The records here could be very, very well be falsified. It's not like they never did it before. I mean, come on. But it's interesting that this guy shows up the day after the assassination, and all of a sudden they got the magazines. Now, if I was the FBI guy in charge of this investigation, I'd say send my agents down to Adrian Alba's garage and tell them to look for these 2 magazines and see if they're still there. If they're not there, then I'd like to know what happened to them. Because the reason why I believe those blanks were cut out later is because and Rob had the graphic up on the two blank Klein's coupons. Yeah, there they are, that were found in the Payne garage, allegedly found in the Payne garage. So that means Oswald was cutting coupons out of magazines. They matched them up to the magazines that were in Adrian Alba's garage. So he was doing something over there with magazines. And when you take a look at it, other than ordering these guns in March of 1963, the only other time that A. Hidell is known is in New Orleans. A. Hidell is never known before that when he lived in Dallas. There's no record of him ever using that name. So the only time that that name first appears, other than these 2 things, other than these 2 weapons, the ordering of these 2 weapons is in Dallas. It is in New Orleans. So that's what I think happened here. I think he filled them out. He left them in the magazine. Adrian Alba said he returned the magazine anywhere from 5 to 10 days or 3 to 10 days later. So he filled them out, never sent them, closed the magazine, put the magazines back in his garage, like he said. And when he was being questioned, he mentioned it. They found out which magazines he had filled them out. They sent somebody over there, grabbed the magazines, and hold them.
I like that theory. I do.
I don't know, but that's what I think. That's what I think happened. Because why would anybody walk into a parking garage, Rob, and ask to borrow used gun magazines? What the hell is that all about?
Right.
Does that make any sense? I mean, how do you know from month to month whether or not those specials that are on those ads are still legit? I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
If only he would have had fishing magazines instead of hunting magazines.
And I think that's the reason why they ended up with a 40-inch rifle, because that's what was being shipped later on at that time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. So I'm going to show you these 2. I think I got 1 or 2 of these from your site, or maybe the Ed Forum. So I think the top is what was being offered from August 1962 through February 63. And this was the third only underlined 36-inch barrel, right?
Right.
Overall. Yeah. Butt to tip. Yeah.
Yeah. The bottom one is, I think, what was in the March copy on. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gil, because I'm not. Me and the audience can use clarification on this. It says only 40-inch barrel overall. And of course, we know the rifle that was found in the TSBD was a 40-inch, right? But he ordered a 36. Explain that for everyone.
Well, the 36-inch rifle was in the February 1963 American Rifleman,
which he allegedly ordered it from.
That's what they said. They said that that's where it came from. And the bottom one, I believe, they advertised Not, it wasn't March 63. I think it was April. I think it was April 63. They advertised that, I believe. I'm not sure. But it was advertised later in the year, in August, September, October, the rest later in the year. And then I think in December they went back again to the 36. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But John Armstrong's got a big list of that stuff, and I've got it on my files. But I'm not sure off the top of my head.
But he did order the 36. But
well, at the time, what the record says is that for the time that he ordered the 36. If the record is correct, he ordered what's called a troop special, which is the 36-inch rifle. The 40-inch rifle is known as a short rifle, and the 42-inch rifle is known as a long rifle. So he ordered the troop special 36-inch rifle. Now, the Warren Commission supporters claim that the 40-inch rifle they ran out of 36s and the 40-inch rifle. There's no evidence. There's no evidence of that. And the thing is, I think there was a difference in price of 5 or 6 cents between the two of them. They never gave him a refund. So I don't believe that one rifle was replaced with another one.
Yeah,
I believe that they got this rifle. I think they got this rifle later on in the year, and I don't think it was even ordered.
Yeah,
I think it just came through Interamco.
Yeah, I think so. I just pulled up Commission Document 87. Which, let's see, it is the Secret Service report of January 8th, 64. It's in the Warren Commission, and it talks about Waldman and the rifle, and you could explain what happened with some of the them trying to take other orders or the inventory of whatever clients had left. That kind of confuses me. But it says here he ordered a model 1891 Troop Special, which you would just refer to, which only refers to Troop Special is only 36 inches. Right?
Right. The Troop Special is 36 inches. That's right.
Right. But yet the one found on the 6th floor was 40 inches.
Right.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Is that the right serial number? What?
C2766, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it was 99 for some reason. I mean, I'm thinking of CE.
Well, here's the interesting thing about this this record that the clients had. It was on microfilm. They never kept the original documents. It was all on microfilm.
Right.
Now, when they asked this guy Waldman, the president of Kleins, and they never get the people that actually do the shipping and receiving. They call, the president of the company or the vice president of the company, who doesn't know his ass from a hole in a wall. All he does is sit in an office and take phone calls all day. But they get this guy Waldman, and they say to him, if they want him to identify the microfilm as the microfilm he found. Well, he says, yeah, it's the microfilm I found. And they said, the Warren Commission, how do you know? He's testifying to the Warren Commission. Well, because I marked the box, my initials on the box. Well, that's the box. That's not the film inside. How do you know that the film inside is the same film that you saw or you found? Okay, so they never ask him if the film inside is the same film that he saw on the reader on the morning of the 23rd at 4:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, wherever it was. They finally found the record. He can identify the box. That's fine. But what happens to the film inside?
See, I always thought it was the FBI that found that microfilm.
No, Waldman said he found it.
Okay.
And the guy that was with him, I forget his name now, Mitchell Wesley, something, Mitchell Westbrook or something, Westland. Anyways, he was with him, and he said he was the one. Mr. Waldman was the one that found the record of the C2766 rifle. Now, the FBI took that film, and then they turn around, they go back. The Secret Service goes there after the FBI's taken the film, and they claim to verify that the rifle was purchased by A. Hidell. How can they do that if the FBI's already taken the only record they got? Yeah, that record's on its way to Washington on a plane with an FBI agent. How the hell is the Secret Service able to verify that? That's a question I have. Now, the Secret Service report says that they went there at I think you just put it up there a little while ago, something like three something in the afternoon, and they verified that it was C2766 was sold to A. Hidell. How does that happen? With the film on its way to Washington with an FBI agent. Anyway, so okay. But during his testimony, he can identify the box. And if I'm the defense attorney, I'm saying, well, yeah, you can identify the box. How do you know the film is the film that you saw that night? How do you know it's the same film, right? So the FBI had their own. Matter of fact, they had copies made of it. Why would they have copies made of it? They made a copy of it, and they sent it back to Kleins because according to Kleins, he called the FBI complaining that the Dodd committee was after his ass for
mailing it,
mail order weapons. They want to investigate him, and he needed that record because that had not only that purchase, it had other purchases on it. So they wanted to see it, and he didn't have the record, so the FBI had to make a copy. How about if the FBI altered that record and then turned around and made a copy for him? How do you know the FBI didn't know? How do you know the FBI didn't know? You're dealing with people who, and the FBI had lied in their tests and their reports, because I've got video evidence of the witnesses saying, I told the FBI this, and then the FBI report says something different. That's on my website too. And
well, what surprised us, Gil, we've run into reports just from like the John T. Martin film and the Doyle film where they captured Oswald on film on Canal Street in New Orleans, where they turn their films over to the FBI and then get back changed versions of the film that they gave the FBI, like right. They're missing some stuff, out of the film. So the fact that the FBI would alter a film or a microfilm is not out of the realm of possibility. Nor does it
or an order form.
Or an order form.
Right. Much harder to do a film. Much easier for
they lied in their reports about what the witnesses said. They intimidated witnesses. They threatened witnesses. Oris Pena, not Oris Pena, the other guy, it was Oris Pena. He said that the Bruys threatened to kill him.
Yeah, he did.
So, I mean, if he said anything to the Warren Commission about him being with Oswald, he was going to kill him. So, I mean, the FBI was really doing some shady stuff back then. And so to think that they would alter evidence, of course they would. If Hoover said, this is what happened, this is what happened. And that's what they did. They arrested the wrong guy for a crime he didn't commit. Then they turned around and they tailor-made the evidence to match their theory. That's what happened here. And, hey, they've done it before. Henry Wade arrested people before that were the wrong people. 19 people that I know of, 19 people, cases that were overturned on DNA evidence because Henry Wade arrested the wrong guy.
Wow. Thank you.
He even sent an innocent man to the electric chair. And in one case, he had evidence of this was in a murder case, I think it was. He had evidence in a murder case where the tire tracks of the perpetrator did not match the tire tracks of the man he had accused, and he knew that, and he hid that from the defense, and he let the guy get convicted. I mean, these people were snakes.
Yeah,
they really were.
Real quick, thank you, Colleen and Brandon, for the super chats. Much appreciated. Wow, thank you guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Rock.
Yeah, and I have a couple of comments I starred. I can answer this for you, Mike. Why does the bottom 40-inch rifle look shorter than the 36-inch in that picture, Joe? It's because I cropped it into my PowerPoint. Dimensions are not to scale, but Octo-Economist, only the 36-inch model came scoped, not the 40-inch.
That's a good point.
Can you speak to that? Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, that they found that out during the House Select Committee on Assassinations. They found out they finally got the guy who actually did the scope on the rifle, and they found out that they did not mount the scope. Clients did not mount the scope on the 40-inch rifle. Only the 36 came with the scope. You could order.
There was no order receipt or anything for an extra ordered scope.
No, and they did not put the scope on the 40-inch rifle. As a matter of fact, if you read the testimony of Robert Frazier during the Warren Commission, he tells the Warren Commission that they ordered a duplicate rifle to match the one that they found on the 6th floor. And they had to tell Kleins where to put the scope. They had to tell them it had to be so many inches from here, so many inches from there. And they had to tell Kleins where to put the scope because Kleins never did that on a 40-inch. Wow. So that just goes to prove that what the guy said about not mounting the scope on the 40-inch, that was the truth.
We have I told you we have a very smart chat here. And Cat Daddy Steve, hey, how are you, sir? He says full-length Carcano has the under butt sling. The short carbine has the through butt sling.
Well, there were two different slings. If you look at the backyard photograph, that rifle has bottom slings. That has a bottom sling mount. The one on the 6th floor had a side sling mount. So they're two different rifles. They're not the same rifle. And so, like I said, like I was saying before, he could have borrowed somebody else's rifle to do those backyard photographs.
As a prop.
As a prop. Yeah. The hunter of fascists, haha. You know what I mean? It was all a big joke.
If that was his body.
Yeah. Well, there's
not
something
just
else.
his head on somebody else's body.
Yeah, that's what they claim he said. But who knows what he said? Who knows what he said during the interrogation?
Right.
You can't go by what the cops are saying because the cops are going to lie through their teeth. They're trying to build a case against the guy. They're trying because they're going to get sued if they find out they arrested the wrong guy.
Yeah. And one last thing, I starred Mr. James Smith, also a very smart member of our chat, pointed out the ad misidentified the 40-inch rifle also as a quote carbine. The ad I had showed before. So.
And also, James, I'll blame Joe for the spelling of ordinance in the title.
I don't make the titles, ladies and gentlemen.
I make the titles. I made a mistake. I apologize. I added an I. But yeah, thank you, James, for pointing that out.
Yes, we all make mistakes.
Pointing out my mistakes. So glaring.
If you tune into our members only on Wednesday, you will hear me spend a good 10 minutes on the cuckoo lineup from last year.
Yeah.
Which Rob got a big kick out of.
I couldn't stop laughing for like 3 minutes.
I know. So.
It was funny, Gil. Joe was announcing the lineup for the conference this year in Dallas at the Cuckoo, the Judy Baker conference, and he was actually announcing the lineup for last year's conference. And
they had not updated their website, sir. So mistakes happen.
But that's kind of like what I believe now. I believe that they framed Oswald because of what he did in New Orleans, and I think Mexico was part of it. And his reason for going to Mexico may have been because that's where they moved the training camp. They may have moved the training camp to Mexico, and that's why he went there. Now, that's a whole different ball of wax. I don't really want to get into that because that's a long story too.
Yeah, Mexico City's a big rabbit hole.
Well, the CIA lied through their teeth, claiming that guy was Oswald that they took a picture of, and that the guy on the phone was Oswald, and the FBI said that wasn't him. I mean, the secret between the CIA and the anti-Castro Cubans, man, they were trying to pin this on Castro, something awful, and I believe that was the plan. That was the original plan. This came right out of Operation Northwoods. That's where this came from. That's where it originated from. but they're going to kill the president, blame it on Castro, and we're going to go in and we're going to take Castro out finally. That's what I think happened. They were, because during the first Bay of Pigs, the first invasion of Cuba, Castro was supposed to be dead before those guys hit the beach. He was supposed to be dead, and they failed to kill him. And so he rallied his troops, and the rest is history. But he was supposed to be dead before that. I think this time, the second invasion of Cuba that they were using the cover for, this time JFK was going to be the target. It wasn't going to be. I think they even advertised it, that they put out a statement. It was a group in South Carolina, some fort down there that they were working, the Cubans, the anti-Castro Cubans. They said, from now on, all of the energies that were being used against Castro are now going to be used against the American government. And Fort Jackson Commandos, that's who they were. They were called the Fort Jackson Commandos, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. That's where they were stationed. And they were going to turn against the U.S. government, meaning Kennedy. And I think that's what happened here. I think that the plan to kill Castro was switched over. Now, the latest file dump that we've seen, there's nothing really there that's earth-shattering. I mean, there's a couple of good things like the Schlesinger memo and the fact that the CIA was watching Oswald way earlier than they said they were. And the reason why I think they were was because he was a source. He was originally CIA. He was originally a CIA source. That's why they sent him to Russia. But I think in the summer of '60, when he came back, he agreed to the FBI to be an informant. Now, he never provided them with any information that we know of. But I think in the summer of '63, after he left a coffee place there,
Riley's, yeah.
Yeah, that guy that owned that company was a right-wing extremist. That he was a financial backer of all the right-wing causes, including the anti-Castro Cubans. And when you take a look at this case, there were forewarnings from everywhere. Everybody knew this was coming. This was people say, how can you keep a conspiracy like this a secret? It wasn't a secret. Everybody knew it was coming. There were people that were picking up codes in the military that this was going to happen. There were people that were that knew ahead of time that this was going to happen. One guy went in 1961. He went to Dallas. This guy, he ended up committing suicide in '63. He went to Dallas in 1961. He was from California, and when he went back to California, his wife asked him. He went to Dallas for something. I forget what it was. He said, "If Kennedy ever goes to Dallas, they'll kill him." That was in 1961. You know, and if you want to read, or if your listeners or viewers want to hear something really, really scary, listen to the speech from Revelo P. Oliver called "They Shall Not Go Unpunished." It's a 1961 speech that he gave to the National Indignation Convention in Dallas in 1961. Listen to this. And he talks about the Kennedys and how they're treasonous and they should not go unpunished. And, you know, look at all the billboards, right? Wanted for treason. Welcome to Dallas, Mr. Kennedy. Not President Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy. They didn't even recognize him as a president. And listing all these things that they had a beef with him about. I mean, this was a dangerous place for him to go. He never, from the Secret Service, from a security standpoint, I've had security and police experience, never should have gone there in an open car. They should have taken him, if anything, they should have taken him by helicopter. He never should have rode through an open car to a place like that. And then they turn around and they change the arrangements of the motorcade. Just before the motorcade, people are being told that at Love Field, you're going to ride behind the car. The general's not going to sit in the front seat this time. He's going to be going backwards. Admiral Berkeley's protesting. He said, I'm supposed to ride in the second car behind the president. And they moving him back. They're getting all these people out of the line of fire so that they don't get hit because the Secret Service knows the shots are going to come from the front. And that's why they're getting them out of This is a setup. They're setting him up. They're driving him into an ambush. And what happens when the shooting starts? The driver slows the car down. If you watch the Zapruder film, he looks back twice. The first time he looks back, he sees that Governor Connolly's been hit. Kennedy's grabbing his throat. He slows the car down. That's at frame 294. He slows the car down a second time, and he keeps it slowed down until he sees the president's head explode, and then he punches the accelerator to get out of there. Now, he never told the Warren Commission that he slowed the car down or turned twice. He said he turned back, he saw it, and then he stepped on the gas and took off. That was a lie. And the two agents in the front lied. This was a setup, and they knew what they were doing. And nobody ever got reprimanded for this. Nobody. The agents were out drinking all night long. They're supposed to be guarding the president. Nobody ever got reprimanded for any of this. Why? They wanted him out of office. They were successful in what they did, and they found an excuse not to punish anybody for this. It's dangerous. You can't do this. You can't allow this. And the only way to stop it from happening to Trump or anybody else for that matter is to expose it for what it is. Some people call it a coup d'etat. I like to think of it as a counter coup. I think the coup was Kennedy being elected in 1960. They never figured this. They figured they could control him. Once he was in office, they found out they couldn't control him. We got to get rid of this guy. You know what I mean? We got to get rid of this guy. He's a danger to the security of the country. And that's from their standpoint, that's what they did. The CIA, don't forget, the CIA could do anything they wanted with Eisenhower. They had carte blanche. They were overthrowing governments. They were having people assassinated. Lumumba in the Congo, they had him assassinated. They were involved in all of this bullshit. And they were even involved with the OAS attempts at de Gaulle, to kill de Gaulle. And when Kennedy spoke with de Gaulle, he said, I have no control over the CIA. I can't stop them. I don't know what the hell they're doing. And so he had this plan to cut the CIA out. No more operational. The CIA is going to go back to being just what it was supposed to be, gathering information, gathering intelligence, and no more operational for the CIA. And guess who won? It wasn't him.
They didn't like that very much.
No.
But I got a question for you to get back to the rifle a little bit. Now, I know in the ad that Joe threw up earlier, Joe, if you could throw that up real quick again.
Sure. 1 second.
The Carcanos.
Mm-hmm.
There's an option there to buy ammo at the very bottom. It's a 6.5 millimeter Italian military ammo with a free 6-shot clip, 108 rounds for $750.
Yep.
No. Same thing on the top. Yep.
We know, I guess, from the order form that there was no ammo ordered with the rifle, right? And I know the FBI was looking into where Oswald would have got his ammo because apparently he didn't have much ammo. They never found any surplus ammo as far as I know, right, Gil?
Yeah, they found that only 2 gun shop owners in the Dallas area sold ammo, but what they were doing was they were taking the military jackets off them and selling them with the soft round, what they call a soft round, which means that they took the copper jacket off of it. No, they claimed that they never sold any ammunition to Oswald. And they never sold any military ammunition. They only sold the soft rounds. And
they never found like a box with like more bullets anywhere, right?
No, they never found anything like that. And the thing is, the clip came with the ammunition. And if you see the photograph of Lieutenant Day leaving the Texas School Book Depository, the clip is hanging out of the bottom of the rifle.
Right. Yeah.
So the clip came with the ammunition, and by right when he
6 shots, it was 6-shot clip.
6-shot clip, yeah.
Right. So he had 3 shells on the 6th floor.
Right.
Were there 3 non-shots in the clip, or was there
no? There was only 1.
There was 1. Okay, so he didn't even have a full. He didn't even have a full 6-shot clip.
No, he didn't have a full clip. No.
Yeah, he was so confident in his shooting abilities. Okay, got it.
And they found out later on, examining the shells, that those shells had been in another rifle. They had markings from another rifle.
Huh.
So whose other rifle was that?
Yeah. Yeah, thought something was up with them shells, being like throwdown shells or something like that.
Yeah. And
Because-
something. I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to throw this up there because I like to throw this little bit up there every once in a while, just to remind everybody about something that Buell Frazier said to the HSCA. No, I didn't know that he'd been caught, but I will tell you this: I knew that he hid the rifle. And Moriarty says, Frazier said he did, and I said to myself, I said, "Oh my God, that was the first thing right there on the steps." I also knew that I didn't want to get pulled in. Moriarty says, Which is interesting to me, Gil, because, of course, this is something that Frazier's denied for years about, he says Oswald took a package in, but it was only 2 feet long, which we know no matter how much you break down that Carcano, it's not going to fit in that 2-foot package. But this is interesting because he actually says, I knew he hid the rifle. And we always speculate how this rifle got into the school book depository, or how if even Oswald even had it to begin with. And according to this quote, Frazier said that he had a rifle and apparently had knowledge that Oswald was going to hide it somewhere, implying that he didn't fire it, right? He just brought it in and maybe told Frazier, look, I'm just going to take it in and hide it somewhere. Because I've always thought Frazier has always known a little bit more about the story than what he said. And that's just my personal belief. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's what he really said or if that's what they claim he said.
It's an interesting quote, right?
It is because what it says is that Frazier knew that he had a rifle, and he knew that he hid it. Yeah. So the next question would be, well, how do you know it was a rifle? Number one, and number two, if he hid it, why didn't you tell somebody? If you knew he hid it, why didn't you tell somebody?
You knew it wasn't a 2-foot package. Because I always said, look, these are country boys from Texas, Gil. You know what a rifle looks like in a rifle case. You know what a rifle looks like in a rifle bag. You know what a rifle looks like, in a leather case. You know what a rifle looks like in a paper bag. They're that familiar. I mean, Frazier owns rifles. They went deer hunting. Oswald grew up in Texas. I'm sure he's no stranger to, rifles. And Frazier wasn't either. He had to know what was in that package, and I'm damn sure it wasn't 2 foot long. It's interesting that if Oswald did take a rifle into the school book depository and hid it up on the 6th floor, that of course after everything went down, then of course he would have realized immediately, oh shit, it's time to figure something out here,
Yeah, but see, the thing is, if he brought it into the building, they would have found the package that he brought it in.
Well, they allegedly did.
But that package was made by the police. That package never contained the rifle.
Right. But they said they found a bag. They brought it out of the school depository.
Yeah. But see, they said a lot of things too. So
right.
maybe what they're saying about Frazier isn't true. Maybe what Frazier didn't. Maybe Frazier didn't say that.
But see, you remember now, Gil, the rifle's ordered under the name A.J. Heidel, correct?
Allegedly, yeah.
Okay, who is allegedly a pro-Castro supporter, who is allegedly in the Fair Play for Cuba committee in New Orleans, right? So maybe Oswald thinks, well, I had this rifle in here. It's going to get blamed on a pro-Castro supporter, and it can't be traced back to him. Maybe that's what he's thinking in his brain. Of course, it could also all be a setup as well, that he may be aware of, and they tell him, look, it can't be, none of this can come back on you. It can be attributed to a pro-Castro supporter, and maybe they told him, look, we're not going to kill the guy. We're just going to fire a few bullets at him and scare him into possibly doing something about Cuba. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Well, see, the problem with that idea is that A.J. Heidel could never have received that rifle at box 2915 in Dallas because his name was never on the third pot. He was never authorized to receive mail at that post office box, A.J. Hiddell. Now, the FBI knew that when they checked, they found the third pot of the mailbox application, and they found out that he was not authorized to receive mail. So by post office law, by the post office rules, that rifle should have been returned to Klein's.
Right.
Should have been returned.
Picked it up.
Somebody picked it up. Well, if it was there at all.
Right. Yeah.
We're assuming if it was there. But if this rifle was they got this rifle through Interamco without going through a purchase, then we can make the paperwork up later.
Right.
I can call my buddy at Klein's and he can make me up some paperwork.
Right. Yeah, it's all interesting to think about.
It is. But see, the thing is, Rob, if Oswald was guilty, a whole bunch of stuff would have been true. A lot of stuff, and I listed this on a post I made at the education forum a long time ago. But there was like 47 different things that would be true if Oswald was guilty. One of the things is that the rifle found on the 6th floor would have been 36 inches. That's one of the things. Okay, that if Oswald was guilty, that would have been true. And there are a lot of things that would have been true if Oswald was guilty that were not true. So now that's a good point too. That Frazier changed his story, and over the years he changed it multiple times. So your question is credibility, but he was the guy that was with Oswald that morning, and he said, I've got a video of Frazier that he says there was no gun in that package. That's what he says. There was no gun in that package.
He said a lot of shit over the years.
I mean, well, the thing is too, he was 19 years old at the time.
Exactly.
He had him scared shit. They had his 303 Enfield. Who knows what they were going to do with that? They could have made that part of the story. Who knows?
They picked him up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I mean, and then they take him back to this is after he's been questioned by the police. They turn around, they pick him up, the Irving police pick him up and bring him back to Dallas. I mean, you're 19 years old. The same thing with the black guys. What are they going to say? They're going to say whatever the police want them to say. James Jarman says he hears 3 shots in equally spaced. Everybody else says that they're not equally spaced. There's a bang and then a pause and then a bang, bang. And that's just too fast for one guy to fire off that kind of a shot. So,
they said they were going to arrest Frazier too as being an accomplice, and then they gave him a lie detector test and he passed it and they let him go.
Well, we
don't have that test result.
He according to Frazier now, he claims that Captain Fritz put in a confession in front of him and wanted him to sign it. And he refused to. And Frazier and Fritz brought his hand back like he was going to pop him one. And the kid said, "You hit me, I'll nail you, and I'm going to get a couple of good licks in before you guys get in this office. So you better make sure you know what you're doing." He was going to punch him back, a 19-year-old kid. I mean, an old man like that, he would have broke his nose. So I mean, they were doing everything they could to get these guys to confess to something that they weren't even guilty of.
Especially Fritz, I think their conviction rate was way out of proportion. You know.
Well, the conviction rate was 93%. The Dallas defense lawyers used to refer to themselves as the 7% club because they only won 7% of the cases.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, but that's the way they did it in the South. That's the way the justice system worked in the South. It didn't matter whether or not you were guilty. If you were arrested, you were guilty, and then they'll fit the evidence to that later. But if they arrested you, you were guilty. And once they arrested him in the Texas theater, he was done.
Right.
Yeah.
Marina said when she went to visit him, she could see it in his eyes. He said, "Oh, everything's going to work out all right." But she could tell he was scared. And even at the midnight press conference, if you listen to what he says, and they ask him, "Did you kill the president?" and his voice breaks, he says, "No." First thing I heard about that is when the reporter's in the hall and his voice breaks. when the president of Hall asked me that question.
Yeah, you could see the oh shit moment right in when the reporter says you have been charged. It's very obvious.
Yeah, we'll see.
Tries to keep his composure, but you could tell.
Technically, the paperwork had been filled out on it, but he hadn't been told by the judge yet that he was being charged. So that's why he said, no, I have not been charged with that. Nobody has said that to me yet.
Yeah.
So he hadn't been arraigned yet. He wasn't arraigned for another hour and a half. And he was arraigned by a justice of the peace.
That short and sweet hearing, I believe he said.
Yeah, the short and sweet hearing where I objected that I was not allowed legal representation. They denied him a lawyer. When the ACLU wanted to see him, they dissuaded them from seeing him.
Yep.
Well, I also heard that he was being kind of picky with his lawyers too, and didn't accept the first lawyer that came to him type of thing.
Well, he said
that representative from the ACLU did come and see him that Saturday, and we have the whole.
No, they went to the police station on Friday. They went to a police station on Saturday, and they were dissuaded from seeing him. They said they were told that he didn't want a lawyer.
Yeah.
First they said he didn't want a lawyer. Then they turned around and told him that he was offered one and refused it. They're two different stories. So they were suspicious, but you see, they had no balls. The ACLU in Dallas had no balls. They were afraid of the police, so they didn't want to push the issue. And what they should have done is they should have said, "Look, pal, I don't care if he doesn't want it. I don't care if he wants to see Santa Claus. I want to see him now. Period. That's it." But they didn't have the guts to do that. And every defense lawyer in Dallas didn't want to represent him. He couldn't get when Nichols from the Dallas bar went to see him. He couldn't get anybody from the criminal bar to go with him. There were two different bar associations in Dallas. There was the Dallas Criminal Bar, and there was the Dallas Bar Association. The Dallas Bar Association only handled civil cases and cases like that. No criminal. The guy that went and seen him was not a criminal lawyer. He couldn't get any criminal lawyer to go with him. Nobody wanted to defend Oswald. They all hated him. People wanted to kill him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really blame a lawyer for not wanting to get involved in that mess either. Yeah.
And if you're a lawyer, you're a local lawyer, Joe, and you know how the DA works, you don't have a chance in this case. Right. You're screwed.
Right.
There's no way you're going to win it. Yeah. The only thing you can do is have him plead guilty and throw himself on the mercy of the court, and hope he doesn't get the death penalty.
Yeah. Kind of like Ruby's situation.
Yeah.
And his lawyers are a whole nother rabbit hole.
Oh. That's crazy. Yeah. The stories they came up with. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. We did an episode on some of the MK Ultra stuff and Jolly West and also we've explored some of the right wing and like Oshner and so a lot of big people that also had big right wing beliefs at that time. But a couple comments I wanted to just star really quickly and get our thoughts on. Cat Eddie Steve. I think an office manager at TSBD had a 30-06 and 22 rifle in the building on the 22nd. No, I think he's talking about Craster. Is that Warren Craster?
Castor. Warren Castor. Yeah, he brought two rifles.
20th.
That was on the 20th. You're correct.
Yeah. 2 days, the Wednesday, of course. So I just want to do that. Scott asked Rob, where did that Frazier quote come from? The HSCA ? And I think you said that.
Yes.
Cool. And one more thing from Cat Daddy Steve. The quote paper DPD made into a bag was handled by Lee because it's his freaking job to use that paper roll at the loading dock each day. So it's not necessarily.
That's not true. That's
they had a wrapper.
Oswald never shipped. Oswald never shipped.
Troy West was the official wrapper.
Troy West, exactly. That's right. Troy West was the shipping guy. Oswald never went near the shipping room. All he was doing was filling
order checker, right?
Yeah, he was an order filler.
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 And I think a Jarman was the order checker. He would check their work after. Yeah. So
let me ask you this. November 21st, the day before the assassination, what in Dallas, what if any guns do you think Oswald had? Did he have a handgun? Did he maybe have a gun at Ruth Payne's? I'm just throwing out the options. I would want to get your thoughts.
Well, there's all kinds of theories on that, because one woman told the FBI that she saw Jack Ruby in front of the Texas School Book Depository hand Oswald a gun as he was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think it was Ruby. I think it was somebody who looked like Ruby. There was a guy there that resembled Ruby, but it wasn't Ruby. But he handed Oswald a handgun.
Yeah, we know he was at the Dallas Morning News from many people.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's witnesses that say he was there.
A few,
So it wasn't Oswald. It wasn't Ruby, but it was somebody in a suit that could have passed for him.
Mm-hmm.
He handed him a handgun. So did he have a gun at all? I don't know. Who knows?
Do you think he went back to get his pistol at Beckley?
No.
Because of course, it doesn't make sense if you're planning to assassinate the president. Why not take your handgun with you to work that day?
Right.
Right.
Well, at Beckley, right? He didn't order one with the gun.
Why not just step off the curb and shoot him point blank with the handgun?
Yeah.
If you want to kill him, doesn't that make more sense? I mean, the three successful presidential assassinations prior were all committed with handguns. All three assailants shot the president as he was standing or walking or standing still. He wasn't moving at 11 miles an hour or whatever it was he was going. But he could have stepped off the curb and with a handgun and bang right there. So what if the motorcycle cops hit him or grab him or something? Who cares? The presidential assassins are never afraid of losing their life. They expect to.
Right.
They expect to get killed when they're willing to give their life to get the president. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense. No, I don't think so. I think maybe he wanted to catch a bus. That's why he was in a hurry, because he was seen standing out by the bus stop by the housekeeper.
Earlene Roberts, right?
Yeah, by the housekeeper. She saw him out at the bus stop. Maybe he was in a hurry to catch the bus. Who knows?
He wasn't in a hurry to get to 10th and Patton if he's waiting at the bus stop. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the bus was going the opposite way. So I don't think he was there. I mean, come on. He had $13.87 in his pocket when he was arrested. And you're telling me he's gonna draw attention to himself and beat the Texas Theater out of a 90-cent ticket? Come on. He would have paid his way in, made it look like he was a paying customer. I mean, it's just the whole story is just ridiculous.
So when he supposedly ordered this pistol from Seaport Traders, he did not order a holster for it, right?
Right. He crossed it out. He had written it in and crossed it out.
Found one at Beckley when they searched the room.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like we were talking about, if he had borrowed the weapons to do the backyard photograph, maybe he borrowed the holster too, and he just didn't give it back.
Right. So we're talking about the holster not really matching up, not ordering it. We're talking about
that was him in the backyard photos again.
But again, if it is him,
right?
Yeah, the strap is not really the same, and of course the barrel is different too, and there's just so many anomalies when it comes to that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a ton of these surplus rifles floating around back then. For as cheap as they were, mail order.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
And I think Gil, you went through the whole process of tracking the shipment, right? That was allegedly tied to the Carcano, where it came to, Italy to England. And then there's this whole thing of whether made in Italy was scratched off or on there. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe you can explain that.
Well, this is what they said, and that Interamco didn't handle any guns that were marked made in Italy. Now, the shipping papers coming from Italy to the United States did not have the crate numbers, the cotton numbers on them, and they didn't have the serial numbers of the rifle. So the first time the rifle appears is on the record is when I think it gets to New York. I think that's when it first appears.
Was
And
it
it's
Crescent Arms Company or
I
something?
think when it gets to Crescent Arms is the first time that they actually list the cotton number. And I think that's
I think I'm bringing it up right here.
it's bringing yeah. See, so
It's from your website. Yep.
all of this is undated. This information, every time they show 2766, it's undated. C2766, it's undated. But I think it's I don't know if it's before that, I think, on that page. But yeah, this is where they check off all the cottons done this shipment, but they don't check off 3376. Now 3376 was the cotton number of the cotton that contained the rifle C2766. They don't check that off. I don't know if it was added after the fact or
right. So what you're referring to right here is all the numbers have a check mark above them.
Right. All of them have been verified.
Except for the one highlighted in blue, 3376.
Right. 3376, and that's the one that was that contained the C2766 rifle. So why isn't that one checked off? You know what I mean? There was supposed to be 10 cottons, and that one's not checked off. Now they may have forgotten to do it, or they may have added it on later, and I don't know. But I think if you go up a little bit further,
how much are they buying them for each?
It was something like $3 a piece or something.
It said it on that. Joe, go back down real quick.
Sorry.
You just had it. Blow it up.
The here?
$8.50.
100 cases, right?
$8.50.
The price part.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So $8.15 each, and the I'm just gonna look back at the order thing.
12 selling them for $12.
$12.88 and $19.95. Two different ones, right?
Huh.
So they're making a decent profit there, which is fine. They're buying it in bulk, whatever. But yeah, $8.50, 100 cases. So, and the date on this we think is
27
February 7, 63. Okay.
That's my birthday.
Whoa.
But yeah.
Whoa.
Feb 7.
Whoa. And I think this here is
yeah, those are all the rifles that Rupp took out to get ready to be sent to Klein's.
Wow.
Didn't Crescent Firearms like rework all these shitty rifles and make sure they all shot?
No, this is the guy that did it. This guy Rupp. He's the one who did it for him. Fred Rupp.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Fred Rupp was a federally licensed gun dealer who had a contract with Crescent Firearms to pick up rifles at the Harborside warehouse and inspect, clean, test fire, repack, and ship them to Crescent's retail customers. Klein's purchase order of January 15th, 1962 requested that 400 model 91 TS rifles, in quotations, 36-inch troop specials, be delivered. And it's just so great.
I just money he made off per rifle, like reworking it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and they're reworking ammo too. I mean, not them particularly, but
right.
Everyone's making money on this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just the level of detail you have gone into like the chain of custody of this shipment of rifles, and I also want to bring something else up here. Let's see, and it has something to do with the markings on the barrel. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you this. What do you think of course, the famous question, what was actually found on the 6th floor? Because we know there were many allegations of a 7.65 Mauser. Of course, Roger Craig. On the right side here, I think this is from your site or the Ed Forum, is the November 22nd, 63 statement of Deputy Boone, who also says it was a 7.65 Mauser with a telescopic sight. And yeah, this is some of the pictures of the Mauser and where the 7.65 would have been stamped, right? Now, would the scope cover the 7.65 marker? I've heard that.
I don't know.
That maybe because it had a scope on it, it would have been hard to tell that it was a 7.65 Mauser if the scope was covering it. Something I've heard. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I think this is from your site, the Allen 63 photo, and it's a side by side with the Warren Commission 1964 photo, and I guess NARA in 2023. And there seems to be no white markings on the initial one. In the 1964 version, there seems to be this white. It says caliber, 7.65, I believe. The one in NARA, there is no white, right? Now that could be a difference in the light. The white ink could have came off. I don't know. This was something I came across on one of the Ed Forum threads, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Of what was found in. What do you think was found in the 6th floor? Was it a Mauser? Was it the Carcano?
Well, I mean, you can make a case for the Mauser.
You can.
Yeah, because Seymour Weitzman found a 7.65 shell outside the Texas School Book Depository, and put it in an envelope, and it disappeared. It's one of those pieces of evidence that disappeared. All it says on the envelope is 7.65 shell, but the shell itself disappeared. Now that might have been what drove him to make the error that identifying the rifle as a 7.65 Mauser. But Boone also said it was a 7.65 Mauser. Roger Craig also said it was a 7.65 Mauser. They claimed that Fritz was the one who said it was a 7.65 Mauser, and he read it right on there. And he even claimed it, right, Weitzman, when he identified it, he pointed right to it and said, yeah, see, 7.65 Mauser. So was more than one rifle found in the Texas School Book Depository? That's the question. Some people think that that they just made a mistake, that the 7.65 Mauser was, they mistook the 6.5 for the 7.65 Mauser. But it's clearly marked. I mean, here you have law enforcement officers. They can't tell one caliber from another. They can't tell one rifle from another. They claim that the shells found at the scene of the Tippit murder case were 38 automatics, and in fact they were 38 specials. They can't. They claim that the guy that fled the scene had a 30 cal automatic pistol, but it ends up he has a revolver. These cops, they can't get anything right. I don't understand it. It's just. I think that you can make a case for a 7.65 Mauser. Now, the interesting thing about this is we were talking earlier about the guy who brought the 2 rifles in on Wednesday, Warren Castner. One of his rifles was a 30-06, and one of the rifles back then that they were converting to 30-06 was the Argentine 7.65 Mauser. This is interesting. And it's a very, very accurate rifle. It's not like the Mannlicher Carcano. This thing, I've seen a guy fire one. I think it was an 1891 7.65 Argentine Mauser. You watch him on YouTube. This guy hits, they got like bells set up like 200, 300 yards. And this guy hits.
It's loud as hell, right?
Oh, man, he hits the bell and you hear bang. He fires it and you hear bang when it hits the bell. Bang, he's not missing. And I'm saying to myself, this thing is unbelievable, the performance of this thing. And there's another document where one of the detective sergeants, I think the one that claimed it was a 38 automatic shell. I forget the sergeant's name now.
At the Tippit scene?
Yeah, I was at the Tippit murder. I can't remember his name, but he claimed
Westbrook or something.
No, Westbrook was a captain. He claims that the rifle found in the building was an Argentine rifle. So I'm saying to myself, now you're saying you're putting all of this together, and maybe this is an Argentine 7.65 Mauser. That might have been found in the building as well. But if it were, then it was a pretty accurate rifle.
Joe, I seen we had Bart in the comments. Bart Camp.
Oh, hey, Bart.
Let me find his comment here.
Yeah, the chat is popping off today.
He says the bottom line is they cannot tie the rifle to him on the 22nd. They needed the Heidel Klein's order, which the feds did not find until the next morning.
Yeah. And they had trouble finding it at Crescent. I think it was Crescent. Was it Crescent that they got the rifle? Yeah. I think it was Klein's got it from Crescent Firearms.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find the record until later on that day at Crescent. I think they found the record at Klein's before they found the record at Crescent. I think that's the way it worked. I'm not sure, but I think somebody told me that.
Paula said Walter Cronkite said it was a Mauser for 3 days.
Yeah, they were reporting it as a Mauser, 7.65 Mauser. All the news were reporting it. Then all of a sudden, it became a Mannlicher Cano. Yeah. Or as Walter Cronkite said, a Mannlicher Carcento from the Italian village of Carcento. He said that's what he said.
You know, a good way to get another rifle out of the school book depository is under that big ass bag that they carried out of there, because something's in that bag holding it upright like that.
You know what it could be? I thought it might be is the windowsill. They took the piece of the windowsill off. The Dallas cops. They removed a piece of the windowsill from the 6th floor window. And I'm thinking maybe that's what they used to hold that bag up. Because when he's walking out, that bag is like on its end. You can't carry a bag like that. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, something's definitely in there holding it up.
Yeah, because when the FBI got the bag, there were pieces of wood inside that they couldn't identify. And I'm thinking maybe it was part of that window sill that the Dallas cops took off. They had taken it off to get the fingerprints and stuff on it.
Yeah, and the guy bringing that bag out, if I forget where I saw it, but they zoomed in on the guy's back pocket, and it looks like there's a rifle scope in his back pocket, which is crazy. So who knows?
Who knows? Who knows with these people? You know, they falsified all the evidence and stuff, and they screwed around with things. You got other evidence where there's no chain of custody. The chain of custody begins at the point of discovery. And look at CE 399. It doesn't begin until it gets to the FBI lab in Washington. Nobody can identify it until it gets to the FBI lab in Washington. Come on. I mean, the whole thing was a big joke.
Yeah.
They pulled it off. They pulled it off.
They did.
Yeah. Which only proves that if you control the evidence, you can get away with murder.
Exactly. You got that right. Well, Gil, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Hey, I'm glad to do it. And, anytime somebody backs out at the last minute or something and you need somebody in an emergency or something, feel free to call me.
Hey, we'll do. I mean,
Are you available next week, Gil? I'm just kidding. No, I know I've been looking at the chat the whole night, and everyone has definitely appreciated you being on. They call you the encyclopedia, and I'm glad Bart checked in, and all our homies, and we hope to have you on soon for sure.
Thanks a lot, guys. Great show.
All right, before you go,
we have we do a couple things at the outset. First of all, Gil, I don't know if you know this. I have a newish dog of about 6 months.
Oh, no kidding.
And do you know what I named her?
No.
It's JFK related, and that person loved dogs.
Love dogs. JFK related.
Sheba. Think Sheba.
Oh, Jack Ruby.
She's Ruby, and
Ruby.
I was thinking of a she. That's why when you said it was JFK related, I'm thinking of a she. Who's the woman that loves dog? Yeah, Jack Ruby. You mean his wife Sheba? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He left her in the car. Can you believe that? I can't believe it. He left her in the car. He must have thought he was going to come back.
Must have.
Yeah.
That, or I know I'm going away. I want to spend my last few minutes with my dog. That's the only other thing I can think of.
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense, but that's the only.
If I knew I wasn't coming back, I wouldn't have taken my dog with me. I would have left her home.
The dog or the money.
Unless he knew
the money too. Money in the trunk.
Yeah.
Unless he knew that, she would be cared for. He would tell the cops, "Hey, get my dog. There's some money in there." I don't know. It's all. Nothing makes sense in this.
Yeah. Sometime we'll talk about the Jack Ruby and the killing of Oswald and how Oswald was set up for the kill, and how they did it. Because people will say, well, Jack Ruby, he was over in the Western Union office, and there's no possible way he could know when they were bringing him down. But if the cops had the direction to not bring him down until Ruby was in position, that's a different story. And I think that's what happened. They waited until Jack Ruby was in position. They kept stalling to bring him down. They should have moved him the night before. But we'll get into that sometime. Next time we talk, we'll get into that.
I think Harry Holmes was interrogating him.
Yeah.
At that point, right?
Mr. Post Office. Yeah.
Oof. All right, Rob.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, get the damn dog, Joe.
Well, we go to the Ruby Cam.
Okay. Ruby, come on. Come on. It's time to dance. We have Dean Andrews dances out of here. We'll explode tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for the super chat. See you next Wednesday. Super Members Only Show. And if you'd like to become a member,
the quotation is Jim Garrison's.
Also, Gil's website is in the description. It's gil-jesus.com. Check it out for more and everything Gil Jesus. Thanks again, Gil, for joining us, buddy.
Thank you.
Always a blast.